Hello friends and followers. Well, here's the HRO 500. This is probably since Friday, it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This is probably day 4 in this radio now. I pretty much put a full day into it yesterday, and well, today I'm hammering away. So this is a really interesting radio, and it takes time to understand how it works. But basically, this guy here is generating, I would say they're wideband pulses. This thing pulses out a spectrum, and the spectrum can be fine-tuned to have resonance in a certain band, and that band is selected by the synthesizer tune knob. But really, synthesizer tune is sort of a misnomer. You're doing a spectrum generator tune. So this knob here is actually attached to the synthesizer tune, which that's, I think, tuning the spectrum generator to resonate or have a certain part of the spectrum enhanced. And this guy here, I'm not sure what this one does yet, but it goes to the band switch. So it was jammed, and of course the string broke. So I put some WD-40 in there. I didn't want to open this thing up. It's too hard to get off. So, but I'll open this thing up. Anyway, I found that the free-running oscillator, they call it a high-frequency oscillator, it pretty much runs by LC circuits attached to the band switch on the bottom. And so that oscillator is basically fed into the LO of this radio. This will throw out a spectrum where it's needed. And then this will do a comparison with this crystal here. There's a 4.75 crystal at the IF frequency. And so I just fired this thing up and found the crystal wasn't even oscillating. So there's no oscillation from that crystal, which is there. So I thought, okay, I'll open this thing up. And what do I find in here? Well, these capacitors so far, all of those have been completely open. So I'm guessing these are open too. And that's probably why this little box doesn't work. Somebody wrote something there, look at that. So I guess we'll see. I'll replace those and see if this will start oscillating at least. So it has to do a comparison between what this is putting out through the mixer, and then when this is all, subtracted and through the whole IF string, you'll get a 4.75 IF once this is all processed and ready for the IF to process. So it'll compare that 4.75 IF that all of this makes to a reference 4.75 here controlled by a crystal. And if that matches, then this is always doing a sawtooth scan. So there's an oscillator here, and where's that one? Is that the HF oscillator? No. There's another oscillator that's doing a scan, and it's running, I think, this thing through almost a sawtooth pattern of changing. No, I think it runs this through that. Anyway, one of these is sweeping up and down, and then they lock, and then it's all done. Another problem I have is this light's burned out, and I'm going to put an LED in there, but I'm going to take off the whole front panel yet to do that. So this will be days and days and days, but one step at a time. I at least want to get the receive. So with the VFO, or what do we call this thing? This is basically a comparator right here. So with this broken, you can still receive. And the oscillator, the HF oscillator, is pretty stable. So you'll still receive things. They're in the right places, and it's not real steady, but it actually is pretty steady. So you can receive with this broken. So I can pull out this crystal here, and this thing will still receive. It just won't be locked, and it won't be accurate. So now it's time to fix this. What else I found is I put in some LED bulbs here, which worked out well. These are two 6-volt bulbs here in series for 12 volts. There's a wire right here, meaning there's a bulb way inside of this rotatable turret, which works I gotta fix that. This little switch here with the panel lights is kind of funky, but I finally got it to work by flicking it back and forth. I should replace that, but I kind of like how it looks. So anyway, I got some new knobs on order for this thing. I also ordered a shaft last night for the band switch because the fiberglass shaft is total crap. So where are you, band switch? You're up here. So yeah, that white shaft is going to get replaced by an aluminum shaft. If the aluminum shaft is correct, we'll see. It's from an old Drake TR5, new old stock. Some guy in Ohio is sending it to me on eBay. So if that works, that'll get rid of that problem. And those wafers will move more in tandem. So yeah, radio's coming along. It's just slow progress. So yeah, at any rate, I gotta get this thing fixed a bit. I think this is the BFO crystal right here that resonates at the lower IF. I'm not quite sure what this thing is yet. It's funny, when you get one of these, it's like a marriage. You gotta get to know your partner and know how to treat it, know how it works. It just takes time to know these radios and ingest the schematic into your brain and know how to fix it. But it's starting to come together, how this thing works. Very small power transformer because it doesn't need much power. I just run it on 12 volts on this power supply, and you can see it doesn't take much current. It's with the lights on, it takes 400 mil. That's about it. So this is a great receiver. Yeah, so I gotta get in here and fix all the gearworks. They just don't work right. They stick, they squeak. I want to grease all that stuff. So I gotta get the front panel off this thing. I guess there's a lot more work to do. At least a week of work, probably. But you don't want to take it fast. Just go slow and don't screw it up. So I'll have cleaning to do. As you can see, the deck is full of dust. But the case of this radio is the cleaning actually works. The dust comes off it. Other radios have stain and problems. So this actually was a lucky find on eBay. It just needs a lot of work. All right, thanks for coming along. Again, this is the status on the HRO 500. It's not working yet. In fact, I can show you how it goes here. Let's turn it back on. So, I've been on 10 here. So you'll still get stuff from the HF oscillator going. And my wiring is all screwy here. Yeah. So that sound is actually the sleep oscillator sleeping the VFO. That's the VFO trying to sync. That's that sound. Because you can put your fingers down here where the band switch is, and anyway, so yeah, you could run it without the VFO or without the synthesizer working. The HF oscillator is close, and let me demo that here. So I could get the pre-selector going here. Just see how this doesn't work right. It doesn't move well. All right, let's get down to 7. I was trying to get WWV, but that didn't work out too well. What the heck is it? Okay, wrong band. Let's go here, this band here. Okay, let's run down to 7 where the hams are. 40 meter stuff, 4, 5, 6, 7.0. Now you get the pre-selector tuned up to 7.0. It'll have static. Usually, let's see, where are you? 7.0. Is that right? Yep, there it is. Come on. This thing. There. Now, I should be able to hear some sideband on here if anyone's talking. or not. Well, that's a fail. So I'm somewhere, but I'm not in the handband, or no one's talking. If I go up to 10, let's see. Band switch. This might hear WWV at 10 megahertz or not. Let's see. Well, the wiring in this thing, I flip leads and it's all screwed up. Come on. There we go. Let's go up to 10. 8, 9. This thing doesn't really have 10 on it, but we'll go to the top and see if it, no, I don't think it'll work. So next band up. Go down. I should get 15, but I don't think 15 comes in. Well, let's see. WWV at 15, 17, 16. So this thing's running asynchronously, so it's not entirely accurate. Oh, look at that. Let's see if we can tune it in. 15. Sharp. There it is. We'll go down. Nope. Turn this a bit. Anyway, I don't even know if we're seeing signals on the band today. How about trying to find stuff on 18? Let's see. 18, look for some signals on FT8. How about that? Let's try that. 18. Okay, there's 18 right there. Let's tune it. Come on. Peak's nice, you know? What a bummer this thing is. Okay. I should hear some FT8 here. Go to sideband. And see what we can hear. What are we notching here? Well, that's a failure, right? So sometimes you can look at this thing and say, this thing's actually pretty accurate. So you can say, let's tune it for 18, because that's where we know the FT8 is. Come on. But this doesn't work well. Okay, come on. If it is accurate, okay, that's accurate. Now, tune the synth for noise, which is basically just telling the HF oscillator where to go unsynchronized. So right about there seems to be 18. No! That buzzing, I think, is the sawtooth oscillator trying to get the VFO to work. So let's see if we can hear anything. Any FT8 going down in frequency. Nope. What if we try and tune the HF oscillator? Using this for FT8. Nope. I know there's FT8 on here probably, but who knows. All right, well anyways, that's enough of my screwing around. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. I gotta replace all these in here now. Replace that. Replace that. Not that it's real hard. That one. We'll fire it back up, see if it locks. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. And I guess next is take apart this bear. Take care.